You won your case. You have a legally effective judgment or a recognized award. But the money still isn't in your account. Why? Because in Vietnam, judgments don't enforce themselves. Recovery usually depends on the civil judgment enforcement system, commonly referred to as Vietnam Civil Judgment Enforcement Authorities, THADS. In this video, we explain what THADS actually does, how enforcement works in practice, and how foreign creditors can engage strategically to turn a paper win into real collection. 1. Who are Vietnam Civil Judgment Enforcement Authorities? Vietnam's Civil Judgment Enforcement System operates under the Ministry of Justice, and is present nationwide through provincial and district-level enforcement offices. Their role is to organize and implement enforcement measures under the law, such as account garnishment, asset seizure, and auction, where legal conditions are met. But there is a key point foreign creditors must understand: enforcement typically begins based on a formal enforcement request and a proper dossier. If you do not request enforcement correctly, or if your file is incomplete, collection can stall even with a strong judgment. 2. When can you request enforcement? You can usually request enforcement once the judgment or decision becomes legally effective, meaning it is final under procedural rules, or it has passed the appeal stage. For arbitral awards, enforcement generally requires recognition in Vietnam where applicable. Timing matters. Vietnamese law also establishes statutory time limits for requesting enforcement, so creditors should not delay after the decision becomes effective. A common mistake is celebrating the judgment and waiting, while the debtor uses that time to change circumstances. Good enforcement strategy starts immediately after eligibility opens. 3. What the enforcement dossier typically includes. A well-prepared enforcement dossier usually includes 1. A valid copy of the legally effective judgment, decision, or recognized award documentation, where relevant. 2. A formal enforcement request identifying the debtor, the amount to be collected, and the requested enforcement scope. 3. Proof of the creditor's legal standing and authority, including a power of attorney if counsel acts on your behalf. 4. Practical asset information, bank accounts, real estate details, business locations, receivables, and other attachable assets, based on lawful sources and available evidence. 5. Supporting documents and costs, fees documentation where applicable to specific enforcement steps. Many delays in Vietnam enforcement are not legal defeats. They are dossier problems. When the file is clean, the process moves more predictably. 4. How enforcement generally proceeds. After acceptance, the enforcement authority issues decisions and notices in accordance with procedure, notifies the debtor, and begins organizing enforcement actions. Depending on the case and assets, measures may include contacting banks, recording enforcement status, dealing with property seizure steps, and coordinating valuation and auction where necessary. In practice, enforcement speed often depends on 2 factors. 1. Whether attachable assets exist, and 2. Whether the creditor provides clear, actionable asset information. The system can act, but it works best when the creditor's requests are specific, lawful, and supported by evidence. 5. What types of assets can be targeted? Enforcement may focus on bank accounts, real estate, vehicles, inventory, machinery, and, in some cases, receivables or other rights with measurable value. However, the enforcement authority cannot guess assets. The creditor's ability to identify targets matters. That is why a smart strategy includes early asset mapping, corporate registry checks, real estate indicators, operational footprints, and other lawful information sources. Where appropriate, enforcement steps can be aligned with available legal measures to preserve recovery options, but only within the procedural framework. 6. Timelines. Why follow-up and execution discipline matter. Enforcement is procedural and workload driven. Some cases move quickly when assets are clear and cooperation is possible. Others take longer because assets are hidden, disputed, or limited. This is where execution discipline matters. Consistent, professional follow-up, timely submission of additional documents when requested, and precise enforcement requests that reduce back and forth. The objective is not to push the system improperly. It is to prevent avoidable delays and keep the file active, complete, and ready for action when enforcement opportunities appear. 7. Case snapshot, anonymized, coordinated enforcement across locations. A foreign creditor obtained a legally effective decision against a Vietnam-based debtor whose assets were spread across different business locations. Instead of filing a generic enforcement request, the creditor prepared a coordinated enforcement dossier with clear asset targets connected to specific locations. With proper filings and location-based coordination, the enforcement process recovered a substantial portion of the amount during the first phase. The lesson: in Vietnam, enforceability improves dramatically when enforcement requests are precise and asset-driven, not generic. 8. Common mistakes foreign companies make. We frequently see 5 mistakes. 1. Filing incomplete enforcement requests. 2. Providing no usable asset information and expecting automatic recovery. 3. Waiting too long after the decision becomes effective. 4. Treating enforcement as a formality instead of a project with steps and documentation. 5. Failing to coordinate across locations when the debtor's assets are distributed. Enforcement in Vietnam is not about aggressive threats. It is about procedural accuracy, asset intelligence, and disciplined execution. If you have already won a case in Vietnam, but haven't been paid, your next move should be enforcement strategy. Contact LTS Law at lts.com.vn. We help clients prepare court-grade enforcement dossiers, identify realistic asset targets through lawful methods, and execute step-by-step enforcement planning in coordination with the competent authorities. Because in Vietnam, winning is not collecting, enforcing is.